Our new Prime Minister, Chris Hipkins, has been in the job, the official job, for less than a week, and he's polling well. He's about to reshuffle his cabinet. Dr. Lara Greaves of Ngāpuhi is a political lecturer at Auckland University and is with us now to discuss the likely political changes. Tēnā koe, Dr. Greaves, thank you for joining us.
Kia ora. Didn't expect this much drama this early in the year.
It's a lot. It's a lot, and I guess the weather situation hasn't helped too much at all as well. But Cabinet is the central decision-making body for government. How risky is it then, do you think, to reshuffle Cabinet with an election just around the corner?
It's a really hard balance for Chippy, which I guess we're calling him Chippy now, for Chris Hipkins, the new Prime Minister. So they need to kind of seem a bit new, but refreshed, but different, because clearly that's helped in the polls already. But then also they need to keep that experience there, and they need to make sure that they have good representation from the Māori caucus. So there's a lot to balance up there, and just to make sure that they do have that whole counter-argument for when National says, oh, well, you know, the cabinet's useless, or they don't have good managers there and they've got all these issues, that they've got, hey, here's these experienced people doing well in these portfolios. They just really need to meet that.
So are you seeing that there's potentially a change up or a change down for Māori caucus members who hold ministerial portfolios?
I think people will be watching to see what happens with Nanaia Mahuta. Like, I think a lot of people have been criticising her some ways, like genuinely based on her performance in different areas, but sometimes we all know it's been like really coded racially, like actually racist or sexist. But I think a lot of people are seeing what will happen with her local government portfolio. Labor has kind of tried to arguably move away from targeting Māori issues as much. Co-governance has been taken off the agenda, or was taken off before the prime ministerial resignation. So I think a lot of us will be watching to see the extent to which Labor tries to move away from Māori issues in election year versus keeps the Māori caucus there, keeps that incrementalist view and keeps chipping away at these big issues. I think a lot of us will be watching where Māori are ranked in the cabinet. So Penny Hinaday is currently ranked at number 13 and Kiri Allen at number 17. So seeing them move up will be another thing that I think people will be watching.
Well, give us a bit of an idea there on the timeline and how this works. Will the new ministers get started on their new portfolios immediately, or will there be a settling in phase?
Yeah, immediately stuck in. I mean, there's a lot of people the Health Minister, Andrew Little, might be removed. They might move in Aisha Verrill as an Associate Minister of Health. That's another one we're watching for. Where actually a lot of the current potential new ministers or potential people moving into the more senior roles have been associate minister for a while. So they've even got that experience. So someone like Aisha Verrill would completely hit the ground running because she's already observed that role as associate minister. For other ministers, it's getting the briefing right away. It's getting stuck in right away. The other thing that they have to be really conscious of is developing that next line of policy as well. So next policies, enacting those Labor Party policies and platform, because of course with COVID, they haven't been able to get to work as much and kind of reimagine or be transformational or all that stuff they promised in 2017. So it's kind of trying to hit the ground running, but also knowing that it's an election year and knowing that they have to start really showing a new policy platform and presenting Labor in a fresh new way, and really kind of showing that they've got some solutions for the big issues facing New Zealanders around things like crime and around things like the cost of living.
Well, Hipkins has had a turbulent first few days since taking on the job of Prime Minister last week. How do you rate his performance as a leader, and particularly dealing with the weather crisis in Auckland and other regions?
Well, I think he's performed as he should, really, showing up, being there, fronting for media, surveying the damage from a helicopter. I think that's all stuff that's broadly expected of leaders. I don't think he's got that kind of knack to it that Jacinda Ardern did, that kind of empathy, that kind of showing up. And you can even see actually on a lot of politicians' Instagrams, them showing photos of them hugging people, helping out in the way that's maybe more Ardern-esque. So she's kind of changed how we do crises in New Zealand politics in a way. I think Hipkins just did what he needed to do. And I think that part of what he needs to do is, get to know New Zealanders, coming out with the nickname Chippy, being already memed, so everyone remembers him saying that there's not a lot of space to spread your legs instead of stretch your legs. Everyone remembers that. So just kind of getting out there and getting to know New Zealanders is the big kind of challenge for him over these next few months. But so far, it seems like he's doing pretty well. He managed his first press conference to talk for 50 minutes and only slip up on a couple of things, including on the treaty. So he did pretty well overall, I think.
In the latest News Hub read, poll shows Labour is up 5 points to 38% and seems to have stemmed National's rise, which is down around 4 points to 36%. The One News Cantor poll rated Hipkins' approval at 36 points, with Luxon trailing on 9 points. Are you surprised at Labour's turnaround in such a short period of time, or is just this the honeymoon period?
Well, a lot of people have said that Australian prime ministers, you know how Australia changed prime minister a lot in a few years there, that Australian prime ministers got a bit of a honeymoon kind of bump. We didn't see that so much of Bill English and National in 2016, so that's potentially a good thing for Labor. I mean, I think National were doing better in the polls relative to Labor back when Bill English took over from John Key, but I think that this is a positive thing if for Labor, of course. So if Labor had gone down, then that would have been probably a pretty bad sign for them, and probably would hint that National and ACT would take over next election. But what these polls really say, and I think a lot of commentators are saying that, I would say this as someone that studies elections, it shows that it's going to be a really close election. It's going to come down to things like MMP, and it's going to come down to Te Pāti Māori and which Māori seats that they win.
Beautifully said. Political expert Dr. Lara Greaves from the University of Auckland. Thank you so much for your time today. Ngā mihi.